Ikayuk sa Tini, Takatuhan. It's good to see you guys. Shirley and I have just been meeting for our prep session, and it's Thursday, March 6th. This is our big day. It's our publishing date goal for our newspaper. A lot going on today. I'm in Hawaii on the island of Oahu, attending the language conference going on here, so I have an update for you all. And we have a lot of fun planned ahead of us. So let's jump into it. Update on our schedule. Today is March 6th. We have class today. Next week is our spring break. So we will not meet next week. And our next meeting after that will be the week after. So Tuesday, March 18th is our next class after today. For today, like I mentioned, I have a short update for you on the ICLDC conference. That's the language conference happening here in Hawaii. And then we're going to work on our updates for the newspaper and wrap up class. So far for the ICLDC, we have watched one presentation. The keynote speaker represents the Endangered Language Alliance, or ELA. They're based in New York City, and they do language mapping. And they also rent studio space and classroom space to host language communities. So the speaker showed a map on his screen of all the plethora of languages that are spoken in New York City. He talked about why languages are prevalent in different parts of the city and how they tend to come around events, such as perhaps a church service that's provided in a certain language, events that go on, restaurants that are owned by a specific language, and how events like this bring people together and keep their languages spoken, alive, prevalent. Um, And so I thought that was really cool. The other main thing that impressed me about it was that they have, I'm going to switch my Wi-Fi to hotspot really quick because it says it's on. Really liked about his presentation was that they rent the studio space, and one of his pictures he had like microphones and a recording studio. Or like she and I could collaborate on in the future, and how fun that would be to be in person, connect with more people from Southeast Alaska. So stay tuned. We will let you know how our project comes along. But so far, really enjoying the conference.
I love that what you said about the event space events helping to keep our language, and because if you think about like even just one of the things that I remember, I haven't gone to Gold Medal for years, but one of the things I remember about going to Gold Medal was one of the first places outside of like a Kuik or something like that, or being at culture camp where you heard the language being spoken by so many people because they were cheering in the language, right? And so in Lingit and I was just like, that's really cool. And that's one of the things I'm most excited to see is if, people still do that. But it's again, it's an event, right? So
Wow, that's great. That's a real good example of us bringing things up to date and through that cheer, the Sea Alaska is going to work with their young people to learn about basketball and Lingit. Uh, so I think that's a real good inspiration to hear something like that. So any encouragement for joining the this generation, I think, is a really good thing.
Yahuwah. Question.
Are there any questions about the conference that Anna's attending? Things to watch for, it's helpful. I think this little report was pretty inspirational. We got into a discussion about how we could not copy that, but to do something. It kind of encourages you to hey, there's an idea, let's try it and see who we can find or you know we're so we're talking about how we're so cut off from the experts in the Southeast. And we should have more communication and easier to reach. I've sent messages down there and I never get an answer. Email, phone messages, texting, whatever, no answer. Nobody has time, or I don't know what. So
I also want to just, I completely agree. Like, I think it's very inspiring that you're attending this conference. And I also, the mapping, the studio piece that you said, but the mapping is as well. I mean, I just, as a person who like is always looking for more data to help share our stories so that we can get funds or resources or opportunities, having something like that would be just really great, to have some mapping project. How cool would it be to see where, even if it was something like, you know, places where Lingit is spoken, and I can imagine that we have people who travel around the world, right? And so if you're in other communities and we have our language spoken in another place as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
yeah, we need a place where we can get together, and it's something that I used to do with the high school students here, the native students, and I would tell them stories. Then they selected a story that they would like to do something. Uh, it was amazing what they came up with. Uh, Puppet shows, and one story about when the raven fell in love with a duck, they made birds, and another one where they acted out where the raven stole the salmon from their little birds. Uh, and it was something I just left up to them, and uh, they put together these ideas and how creative they were. It's an opportunity that they don't have, and we were thanking Anna and I were thanking the intelligence for putting together a Zoom, but we don't. It doesn't allow us to be participants, to see and create and have discussions. And we want our students to, okay, now is a good time for a discussion. And you can't have a discussion because uh, you're separated by the technology. So, um, and one of the things that Kunkit Haida has found hard to do in Anchorage was to find a place that could be ours. We're embarrassed because Korea comes into town. All of a sudden, there's this Korean center, and the Philippines. They have, yeah, there's a center for the Spanish speakers. They have a center. As natives, we don't have a center. We have the Heritage Center, but it's mainly for tourists. So we don't have the same opportunities without charge to go and do something there. So uh, the work that I've done with um, the youth who are very interested in their culture and have a difficult time getting into the culture or to even learn about their clans and their names and things like that, just because uh, the time that we have together is limited by the money that we have for the time. So there's a lot to look at, I think, in the process of doing something like that. I think the in-person things, the in-person process beats it all. There's no substitute. This is a good substitute to what we're doing now, but a place, I think it'd be really great. So,
The speaker who talked today started a nonprofit organization, which in my mind, it might be a good route for that because they can go after funding without relying on revenue. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. And can you guys all still hear me okay? I know my internet is a little weak right now.
It's a little choppy.
Okay, let me switch back to Wi-Fi. Sorry about this. So I'm gonna show Evelyn Nashe Skuntla. How are you doing today? Are you available? Oh, okay. She updated it. Was going to mention last class on Tuesday, we finished up the translation of the New Zealand article. And it looks like Nashe Skuntla was able to put the whole thing in our template in our design, which is awesome. Evelyn, you want to add anything about this? I will mention that when we met today in our prep period, Shirley mentioned there's one line that needed an update, and we fixed it. And it's this line about um, when they performed the haka in Parliament. And we said, we had told in the article, "Tlakunach has du tuwu yanik tlaachwe tlahas au shitzin weatshe," how they felt really hurt, and that's why they put a lot of strength into their song. And then we said, "Shriqi a koa has du tuch kuati tlaadach tlaukas uaguk." We updated this part. So instead of saying the ACT party became afraid and walked away from there, uh, Shirley mentioned we could add a little more strength to that to show that they rushed out and that they hurried out. And so we updated it to this phrase, meaning they really rushed away from there. So let me add this in.
I think the phrase is supposed to be pakasuko. Pakas, not uwa, but pakasuko.
Okay, let me update that. Tlaukas wugul.
Let's see. Tak tak atach asuko.
Oh,
Tak atach. They
Tag
write
adach
from there.
has wugul.
There we go.
Okay, Gunaftish.
Um, that's what happens with translations is after you think about it, you say, oh, that's not coming across like it should. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, I could say it this way and make it stronger. So
Mm.
um, this article was such a beauty. It was wonderful to work on it. Uh, Even what we wanted to call it. What did we decide to call it in English?
So far we're calling it Waitangi Treaty Threatened.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of incorporates the sentiment we closed with, that the Maori knew this would not be the end of the fight, so they marched. Perhaps 40,000 people marched without anger. Um, Speaking against the bill, she declared, "This is not just ink on paper. This is our past, our present, and our future." So let me share this with them too. This last line is a translation that Shirley and I did after class on Tuesday. And I'm gonna zoom in a tiny bit. And it's a translation of this last line. And it says, "Shikatas haswuat, hana tuhas duchut uagut, dalk unjinkat tausend yanach shakte, tlashk antin haswuat, hana yink auditan. Sekata shagun has tua segute kakao shi ditch haji dach has kwati ha owe kunach tesh hatua ushko." So Hannah said they want to take away our whole past, present, and future
Just
on
because
this
writ-
taking
just,
back on,
just because it's written on paper.
just because it's written on paper, yeah. And she said, we really don't want that.
So that was the end of the article.
Yeah, that was the end. So I just wanted to thank Yandekin Ikaka for having the courage to write this article. It's a It's a big undertaking to write about Indigenous rights on a international scale and then be tasked with translating it. And here we are looking at our finished product, and I feel proud of it. I feel proud of everybody's work, and that, we wouldn't have known we could do this if we didn't put ourselves out there and try. So goodness, geez.
Uh, thanks for uh, giving us the task. It was a good one.
Yeah, it really feels emotional. Like I feel emotional hearing the words in Tlingit. Uh, yeah, goodness, chief.
Okay, good job. Are there any other comments or questions about this part of the paper? I'm gonna take a quick look over the whole thing and see how we feel about it. Um, we changed the month name, Ying Disi Sea Cucumber Month, since it's no longer February. The whole article fits in, the New Zealand article. We still have our announcement of traditional games, April 4th and 6th, Ashkanach Tusiat. Let's go ahead and play. There's a link here to the traditional games people can click. Our next article is the Anchorage School Board passes budget that makes deep cuts to staff and programs. So we have a summary here. The Anchorage School Board voted 6-1 to approve a budget Tuesday night that makes $43 million in cuts by eliminating all middle school sports, 3 high school sports, and the Ignite program for gifted students. It also increases the students to teacher ratio by 4 for all grade levels. The budget includes an American Sign Language fluent intervention coach and counselor that were previously slated to be cut. The board made the change after hearing an outpouring of public comment in favor of keeping the positions at the Alaska School for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Board member Kelly Lessons said the budget prioritizes student outcomes despite significant cuts to special programs. So what do you guys think about having this article in here? We wanted to include it for relevance because we wanted to show that budget cuts are happening and our Native community is finding a way to maintain traditional sports. Currently, this article we have, the summary, is an English only article. What do you guys think?
When I was putting the article, the New Zealand article in just now, because I didn't have an opportunity to do it earlier, I had to make the font smaller, and I kind of felt bad about making the font smaller. I was thinking maybe I need to make it bigger and move the sports to another page because it felt like that should be more prominent.
What do you guys think about that? I think I saw Shirley say yay.
I I think it kind of melts together. First talking about the native games and then start talking about the budget. So it does need some kind of separation.
Yeah, it seems like a hard transition going to, hey, let's go play after
Yeah.
people
Oh yeah.
marching. I didn't like that. So I think I'll make a sports page and then that could be the sports, or the board passing the budget and mentioning the sports getting cut. They go together.
Excellent point. I like your idea. Let's go ahead and do that. And this article, like you mentioned, definitely is worthy of a whole page. I think that would be awesome.
I'm sorry, I just got notice I have to jump. So I'm sorry to leave you all early, but
Okay.
it looks awesome and I appreciate being able to join with you guys today.
Aw, we'll
I'll
miss
see you
you.
soon.
Enjoy. And yeah, good luck in the rest of your day.
Thank you.
While Evelyn's working on rearranging our front page, I'm going to scroll down to. Sorry about that. I got kicked off. I'm back now. Share my screen. Okay, here we go. We're back. So I'm going to move this personal's ad around. Let me see if I can reverse this. Maybe I'll move. Oh. Evelyn, do you know how I can switch which way the conversation bubble is going?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Or maybe I'll
There's
just
a
put the girl over here.
flip. There's a flip up there next to the crop symbol, and you can flip it. Like, click on it. You got your.
Oh,
Do you see that
oh,
flip? Did it do
yeah,
it?
yeah, I totally did. Thank you. And then I see that you have this submit ads by emailing editor at. I'm just gonna put my email in here. Is that okay if with everybody if I'm the contact person?
That makes sense.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe this will turn into a regular publication. We could keep it going. Have a full personals ads page. And we need to put our names in the staff section. Editor, Nache Skunfa. And Squape. Oh, this is Nache Skunfa. Photographers, we didn't have photographers this time. Illustrator, Nache Skunfa. Opportunist nates kunta. You took on a lot for this, Gunaftish.
Oh Lord, I had so much fun.
Good.
I need this in my life.
Good. Columnists, we had Beyond the Hinkiraka, as well as Tashi and Squate. Translators, Shaksaniki.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Um, I think you both are in Anchorage.
yeah, that's right.
Do they have I know here in Juneau they have, because you're talking about, you were talking, or you brought up school budget. Um,
Mm.
they have like the Tlingit school here.
Uh-huh.
Do they have something like that for elementary in Anchorage?
No,
No, ma'am, not yet.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. I have three grandchildren in the Tlingit school, and they know all their friends. They only address each other with their Tlingit name.
Wow.
And it's so cool to see them. They see one of their friends, Shaku, cakes. Yeah. The other day, my granddaughter I was asking her, what's her name? Her name
Yeah.
is, for example, she was saying the Tlingit name. I can't remember, but I'll use Kunze. Her name's Kunze. I said, no, what's her name? Kunze. It's so cool to see them all know each other and their friends by their Tlingit names. And I just thought I'd share that. I was just amazed. It's amazing to hear them. They'll count in Tlingit, when we're doing something or we're cleaning up. They'll sing their Tlingit songs that every Monday they have a gathering before school to sing songs. And it's just amazing to hear that side of it. So I was just wondering if Anchorage had it. So I just thought I'd put in that. It's amazing to watch my grandkids in that, and they're learning beading, they're learning songs. They've all made a drum. Um, they know their friends by their Tlingit names, and so it's just cool to see that. So I just thought I'd mention that. Kanishish.
yeah. Uh, in Anchorage, the students are so mixed, and so when we thought about doing clinical language classes, uh, there weren't enough uh, Tlingit students. So when I was teaching Tlingit language in high school, there weren't very many Tlingits either. So I had Aleuts and Yupiks and Athabascans, all the different tribes learning Tlingit. Uh, and even some of the non-native students took classes and began to learn the language. So, but when we wanted to do it for the children, it was somehow a little more difficult because I think like the teachers were too structured and it just was really too hard to work. I taught at the Heritage Center for Children, and I really enjoyed that. The children, the parents would bring the children and leave them. So I had access to them, and they were really studious and good students. But then it began to show up where the parents uh, they just couldn't find the time to bring the kids. So uh, it made it a little more difficult because it just the children didn't have a choice. They had to depend on their parents. If the parents bring them, yeah, they can take the class. If the parents can't do it, then they just kind of dropped out. So uh, I wish it was easier to do because we're so scattered. The the natives, we don't have a certain area where we all live, uh, scattered throughout all the way to Palmer and Soldotna and Kenai, just everywhere. So we haven't been able to figure out how we could do it. So uh, it does work with the high school students to make a choice to learn Tlingit. They were very, very interested in learning a native language and a native culture because I didn't just teach the language, I taught the culture. So uh, then I was also teaching at the university. So when they graduated from high school, they followed me to the university. So it was just amazing. These kids that were so determined about the language. I had a UPIC student, and I allowed them in class. If you have a native name already, we're going to use that, and we learned each other's native names, and and like your kids, we would forget what the English names were. So one young man came to me. He said, you call me by my UPIC name, but I want to be called by a Tlingit name too." So we had to work together and work on a Tlingit name for him. So it just depends on the students. Yeah. Um, yeah, it could be done, but
Yeah,
it's not being done now.
I guess I could count my blessings because it's so neat to watch my grandkids having that opportunity. And like I said, the only thing I feel bad about is, there's a lot to be said about the Tlingit language, the Tlingit songs. The thing I see that every time I attend a function that has is that the Tlingit traditions are disappearing, just like our elders, I guess, and just hard with the young people, but I must say that the language, it's fun to watch them learning the language, and I just feel bad that there's, as you know, there's a lot to the Tlingit traditions, balance, certain things you do have to do, and I think that's the one thing that makes me feel bad is every time I attend a function, I see it disappearing a little bit more. But count my blessings that my kids, my grandkids have the opportunity to learn the language. And they know their Tlingit name better than I did growing up, so
Mm.
goodness cheese.
Yeah,
Mm.
when I go to Juneau and I see different presentations by the youth there and what they're learning in their language, I'm just so thrilled and happy to hear um, here's a little person speaking so beautifully and in public. I mean, how many of us are willing to get up in front of a large group and start speaking? They just step right up and do their part, and,
Mm.
and so fluently. Florence Shakely, I think, was responsible for some of the programs, and it really does work well. So I applaud Juno for the hard work that they've done uh, in keeping the language alive there. It's wonderful. Gonna cheese for sharing that with us.
Yeah, oh, I'm gonna teach. Surely for our recipe on Utri, we have this phrase shukatku'u, and we have it translated as ingredients. But does that sound right to you? Shukatku'u for ingredients. Opening up the dictionary to look as well. And quick time check, we have 15 minutes left. I think the paper is looking really good. And so, yeah, I don't want to cut our conversation short what we were just talking about. If you guys have other comments or questions, please chime in. This is also our time to talk about things like this. It's good for us.
It's very encouraging to hear about Juno. So if we had a language center in town where the students can come, I think it should be open to any student that wants to learn the language. Right there. For them to come and work on. We can't get a location center uh, where everybody lives, because like I said, we're so scattered. But we could had a center. Like, I'm so inspired by uh, your conference
Mm.
talk that we had a place and just um, to learn to talk about the government, to talk about what's happening with the United States and the schools and uh, things like that. It just, I think, would be great.
Hmm. That would be awesome. And like we did this newspaper together online, but how cool would that be if our kids could be helping us and working together in person on it? Lots to think about, big dreams, but I'm inspired by this newspaper, what we were able to pull off together. Any other closing thoughts, comments, questions? We have 10 minutes, and so anyone wants to chime in, don't be shy.
I just wanted to share that I'm reading a novel with my fourth grade class right now called Two Roads by Joseph Bruhawk. Do you know that author?
Not yet, uh-uh.
He wrote a book on medicine plants many, 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 many years ago. I met him and he's a storyteller. But this book is about a little boy and his father, um, who are Native American and it's in 1932. They're homeless and they um the father went to a boarding school, but
Mm.
he doesn't tell his son that he's actually part Native American because he wants him to fit in. And
Mm,
so it's a really powerful story. Um, but it's right after World War One, so there's that going on. There's the Great Depression going on, and then there's this backdrop of the the history of the boarding schools.
mm. Oh,
So
wow.
it's really powerful.
It's called Two Roads, you said?
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. It's
So
a big part of uh-huh.
it's just giving us a lot of good deep conversations.
That's awesome. Big part of learning our languages is understanding that history because personally, when I learned from my auntie, my grandmother's first language, school was a big part of her life. And there are a lot of different perspectives from everybody that lived through that time. It's important to talk about them and listen to people's stories because it's part of who they are. Our teachers are human beings with life experiences and they're important to us.
Uh, After we complete the paper, the newspaper that we're doing, is
Hmm.
to be available to print out for each of the students to keep as a uh, if they want or even want to show it to anybody.
I think that would be good. What does everybody else think?
There's a way I can share it or that you could share it um, on the Canva site. we could provide a link to it, or we could download it and share it by email.
Yeah, we agreed in our discussion to share, with our networks electronically. So let's do that. And then I'll check out printing options, like Shirley mentioned, so that everyone here in class has like a paper copy that they could have to keep. I'm just giving it one more look over.
Happening.
I'm just looking over this last part of the English translation to make sure it aligns with what we said in Tlingit so that it still captures the strength and the power that we wanted to project. And I think it looks good. And that's about it for time. So after class, I'll download this and email it to everybody. I see Nashe Skunfa is still making some final touches on the design. And so I'll touch base with you, Nashe Skunfa, after class before I download it to email folks. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay.
I wanted to share a little story about me.
Okay.
Uh, they make these phone calls to they call you so they could sell you something, and you say, I don't want to listen, and I'm just going to hang up, and so next thing you know, they're calling again and again and again and again. So finally, what I did was, uh, every time it said unknown caller, I picked up the phone and I start talking and saying it. And it's a salesperson trying to tell me I can do this for you. And I'm talking in Tlingit and I tell him, uh, I told you not to call. I don't want to hear anything you're saying. I know you don't want to help me. You're doing this for yourself. I go on and on and on and Tlingit, and they can't interrupt me. They finally quit calling.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I never gave them a break. I bet they were busy trying to look up what language I was speaking.
Probably trying to use Google Translate and it's not working.
Yeah.
And then you can't get it to close, you can't do anything.
That's awesome. That's how you turn lemons into lemonade. You take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah.
practice my thing at the
Were
same
you able
time.
to finish checking in?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good job, you guys. Thank you for sharing that, Shirley, and on a good laugh. And we finished the paper, so next week again is spring break, so no class next week. When we come back, we'll have new projects and new presentations ready for you guys.
You get a spring break because it's my birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You click on that,
So
and there's
Good
two
I have a
job,
whole week
guys.
to
in that
relax.
corner, you check them both,
Good.
and then a window will
All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your spring break. We'll see you on March 18th.
is having trouble. So you put in your last name.